Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sport. And some very interesting news over the weekend. And we're going to have a lot of time this week to really sort of break this down and hopefully more information will sort of pop up around it. But a story has broken yesterday on Sunday, as often they do from reports. And basically, it looks like all the SA URC franchises are set to have a massive boost in the salary cap, which will go from 67.5 million rand up to 85 million rand for next season, as well as then a further 10 million rand boost for the season afterwards, as well as the potential implementation of marquee players. It's quite a lot to sort of get through. I mean, the basics of it are obviously quite sort of straightforward, but in terms of the impact and what this could mean for the teams, it's could be a very good thing. It could be a disaster, and we actually have a live show. We're going to really sort of break this down and kind of have a discussion about whether this is a good thing or not. Before we look at exactly what has apparently been agreed and what this could mean, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So right now the salary cap is sitting at 67.2 million rand. Now, from what I understand, Stormers, at least I think it was last year, John Dobson said they're not using the salary cap. They're not using the full salary cap. That might obviously have changed. I've never heard that the Bulls aren't, and I'm pretty sure the Sharks are, and I'm pretty sure the Lions aren't. I don't see how the Lions, with the squad they have, could possibly be using that full 67.2 million rand. And so that is where we currently are, which is obviously, I think if we look at it, it's substantially lower than obviously top 14 caps, England Premiership caps, Ireland caps. I think it's slightly higher than sort of in Scotland caps, potentially the salary cap there. And and obviously the Wales caps also keep sort of changing at the time. So what does this mean? So first of all, it's a lot more money if we're being honest. It's just shy of 20 million rand more. Where are these sides going to get 20 million rand more? So for example, maybe the Sharks, with the external investment, maybe they do have that extra 20 million rand. Maybe the Bulls could have that extra 20 million rand. I bet to see how the Stormers, for example, are going to get that extra 20 million rand, and I think there's no chance in hell that the Lions are going to get that extra 20 million rand. Also, what does that mean? You are now loading an extra 20 million rand onto, or 17.5 million rand onto all these franchises salary bills for their yearly financials, and that's potentially going up by another 10 million rand in a year's time. So that's up to 95 million rand. So we're now looking at close on 30 million rand increase in the next 2 years. It surprises me quite a lot, to be honest, because SA Rugby in the last couple of years have been very stringent on the cost saving measures about spending money and stuff like that. And we had a look at the fact that they made a small loss, but overall things are sort of trending in the right direction from an SRE point of view. But that the URC and the Champions Cup, for example, is costing them so much money. And that right now is with teams traveling economy, for example, not necessarily getting the best hotels and stuff like that at the moment. There's a lot of issues with the traveling and the expenses of the URC and EPCR competitions. Now, even alongside that, we are now going to grant a much bigger salary cap. And this for me is obviously, ideally, we do need a large salary cap if you want to compete with Japanese contracts, top 14 contracts, Premiership contracts. But at the moment, the Premiership is in a bit of a crisis because they keep putting the salary caps up, and now unions and clubs are collapsing. They are literally collapsing because they cannot afford, the salaries and the expenses that they have that they've taken on. And this is sort of my worry with the salary cap increase here. We've got a very, for me at the moment, quite a delicate situation, South Africa, with regards to the financial stability of our unions. SA Rugby is having to fund a lot of various different things, and to now sort of add an extra, 17.5 million rand to your salaries, just your salaries for a 53-man squad, is, for me, I don't see how we are really going to manage it. And the next big thing, for example, is the idea of marquee contracts. So apparently there's going to be a dispensation. Each franchise is going to be able to contract 4 senior marquee players in addition to their 53-man squad, and those salaries do not count towards the team's cap number. So basically, this is license for your big unions to just absolutely bully everything else. For example, within hours of the story breaking, there were rumors that the Stormers are now linked to Dylan Lates, to Warwick Galant, to Edel van der Merwe, to JD Schikkeling bringing him back, and let's take an Edel van der Merwe example. He left the Stormers, for example. He's now playing brilliant rugby at Lions. If the Stormers can truly use this 85 million rand and they can make him a marquee player and doesn't count towards the cap, how are the Lions supposed to compete? So we are now, for me, I think this is going to. I don't think this might necessarily have the impact we want. I don't think this necessarily suddenly means all our swim marks start coming back here. This could actually mean sort of a lot of the other unions being absolutely plundered by our URC. For example, the Cheetahs players. How are the Cheetahs going to be able to keep any players? Even the Pumas, even the Griquas. Now, yes, obviously we want our best players playing, for our URC franchises, but we don't just want to see our best players or our second tier best players playing the Odd Curry Cup match and not getting any game time at big URC franchises who are sort of now have these massive squads but very little game time for certain people. And the Cheetahs, Pumas, Griquas, they all suddenly become uncompetitive. So it's a very tricky situation, isn't it? As I said, as a Lions fan, I think this will be an absolute disaster because I just don't see how we can compete. I don't see how we manage to keep any good players because we just do not have the financial backing to be able to pay 95 million rands worth of salaries plus marquee players, which don't count towards that. I mean, there's no ways we're going to see a Lions, paying in excess of 100 million rand a year on player salaries. That we just don't have the financial capacity to do that, and we do not want to see a situation where unions are so desperate to try and be competitive and try and maximize the salary cap that they then bankrupt themselves. So there are quite a couple of red flags. I think there needs to be a lot of checks and balances. And maybe there needs to be a situation of you can use that as your salary cap, but you can only use that if you can prove that you can afford it, basically, and whether it's a case of a certain percentage of it can be your salary cap or stuff like that. For me, there has to be checks and balances. There has to be conditions in which this salary cap can be met. Otherwise, we're going to see our unions going into administration, going bankrupt, and that does worry me because we're seeing it overseas. It's not like it's just like this is a fictitious idea that our unions could go bankrupt. They genuinely could. And that sort of is my worry. So obviously the idea, in principle, if we can afford it and it's going to be financially viable, cool, let's push the salary caps up. Let's get better squads, get better players in here. Let's make ourselves more competitive. Let's go win a Heineken Cup, but not at the expense of potentially bankrupting these unions. So there has to be a very clever and very stringent implementation of the salary cap. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.